Hey sophomores, we're going to look at our first word on your packet, and let's get right to it, and that would be obsidian. Obsidian is a volcanic rock, but it's a volcanic rock that's hard, but it's also almost glass-like, which means it can be very sharp. So this obsidian was used for weapons in Teotihuacan. It was used for weapons, and it was also used for hunting. So this was what it looks like, obsidian. And if you had these kind of weapons, you would have an advantage over your neighbors, and you'd have an advantage in hunting. And this is what the people in Teotihuacan would use. So now, like normal, which theme of history would this fit best under? And that would be environment, because it's volcanic rock. It was an environmental resource that they were able to use. Slash and burn agriculture. The Mayans would use this, where they would burn down a section of the rainforest. They would clear it, and then all that burning and everything actually caused the soil to be stronger and fertilized it, and they would use that to raise their crops. So this is how they were able to farm in the rainforest. They'd clear a section, it would burn down, kind of like we see images here, and then they would grow their crops in this area. And this is how the Mayans were able to farm, living in a rainforest area, and build their very strong city-states and civilizations. A waka it's called, is a pyramid. Now, wakas were pyramids that were used by the Moche in this time period. In this chapter, we'll learn about the Waka del Sol and the Waka de Luna, which are Pyramid of the Sun and Pyramid of the Moon, which were made by the ancient Moche in their civilizations. And these are located in Peru today, and you can still see them. In fact, I've been to these a couple times with my wife because they're pretty close to our houses in Peru. So these were huge pyramid structures that were built by the Moche, and they housed the dead bodies of their kings. Our next word is Ayas. Ayas is something that was founded by the Moche civilization in Peru and South America, and later will be used by a civilization we'll study called the Incas. Ayus were pretty much the belief that the community needed to work together. So basically you would have a set of families who all believed they had a common ancestor from the past, and they would be together, and they would have to do a certain number of work for the civilization. It was almost kind of like paying taxes. Basically, for the Moche, you had to do a number of public works or jobs that you would do instead of paying taxes, and if everyone contributed to that, things got done. So think of it like kind of like community work, community taxes that people would do, and they would do this instead of paying taxes. So again, it was used to keep the civilization going, so they could have their projects, so they could have their farming, their civilization, and food for people to eat. Our next word is Mesoamerica. Mesoamerica is an area of Central America right here. And if you notice, it covers a lot of Mexico, Guatemala, and Central American nations. So whenever you see Mesoamerica, just think an area of Mexico, an area of Central America, where civilizations like the Maya, Teotihuacan, and the Olmec started their civilizations in Mesoamerica. Okay, a mother civilization is kind of like a founding civilization. So for example, the Olmecs were in Mesoamerica. So the Olmecs would be a mother civilization in Mesoamerica, which would lead to the Mayans, which would lead to Teotihuacan. Another mother civilization would be the Moche in Peru. The Moche were a civilization that would later lead on to civilizations like the Aztecs. So mother civilizations like a founding civilization that will lead to other civilizations in the future. A classic period is when a civilization is kind of forming and moves to its peak. Often it's the first time it forms and then kind of peaks as a civilization. In this chapter, we talk about the classic Mayan civilization. That means the first Mayan civilization that developed between 200 and 900 CE. And also that this is the time the civilization flourished, and it was the first time. That means later it comes back again. So a classic civilization is kind of like the first time that it forms, and then later it will come back again. but the classic period is like the first time that this civilization forms. In this chapter, we're going to use that for the Mayans, who will form, and later they will come back as a civilization again. El Caracol. Caracol, which in Spanish translates to snail, was an observatory that the Mayans had. An observatory to study the stars. It's pretty cool. So the Mayans were definitely into their astronomy, with making their calendars and everything. They were astronomers. And El Caracol, which was in Chichen Itza, which will come up in your book, was a place where they were able to study the stars, make a calendar, and do many of their advances in math and science. Tribute is something that is paid. So it's like when a civilization has been taken over, and they make payments to the civilization that took them over or conquered them. So you're a conquering civilization, you take over people, they now have to pay you tribute or taxes because you rule over them. The Mayans were able to collect tribute from other civilizations around them, or even other Mayan city-states, and they were able to pay. This is very similar to what Cyrus the Great was able to do in the Persian Empire as well.